Hello everyone, back at it again. We've got the Crawdad out for the first time this year, and I'm just getting that motor tightened down on the back, connect the battery terminals, and we'll be off. So we've got what I think is fairly decent bass fishing weather. Usually if it's calm, sunny, I'm thinking panfish or trout. But if we get a little bit of wind, some clouds, I even prefer overcast and more wind. But, you know, a little bit of wind, some clouds. And in the spring, the deal seems to be southwest winds, warm temperatures, overcast, and you can get almost every fish in the pond in that northeast corner. Or maybe it's the eastern side, maybe it's a place where a stream comes in, but somewhere in that northeast, east-northeast corridor seems like can be money if the weather cooperates. And we've got not ideal conditions, but it's getting there. It's about 2 weeks after ice out. The water's still very cold. I could hear some frogs a little bit later on in the evening, but what we don't have yet is a lot of bugs. And that's just because it's been too cold for them to hatch. I can tell that that the bite should be pretty good once this pond is basically a swamp, and once there's a lot of midges, there's these little black midges, and they'll cover me, they'll cover the kayak, they'll cover the crawdad, they'll cover their fishing reel. They don't bite so much as just crawl over everything. So I can tell we're not at that stage yet. But my plan is to fish a chatterbait and see if I can get any fish to go on that. And on a good day, when the fish are fired up and thinking about chewing, I shouldn't be able to move 20 yards without hooking up a chatterbait fish. I mean, they should be on it. And so what I'm doing is I'm ripping it through old weeds. I know it looks like kind of a featureless bowl here, but I'm actually fishing old weed beds. And to trigger the bites, what I really want to do is rip the chatterbait through those old weeds. And again, the conditions aren't perfect today, but if you get a perfect day and you get it all lined up, these fish will come completely unhinged for a chatterbait. And the best, I've seen them in fairly clear water. They'll hit it right by the boat, and they look sort of like demonic tadpoles. That's the best description I can give. I mean, the bass go completely nuts for the chatterbait. It's something about the vibration or the sound, or I don't know what it is, but they go completely ballistic for the chatterbait under the right conditions. And I don't have those conditions quite yet. The water's still a little bit cold. And you know, in retrospect, what I probably should have been doing is backing off the bank even more and fishing a jerkbait or something like that. And I don't really want to fish a jerkbait. I'd rather catch them on a chatterbait. So I'm probably being a little bit more stubborn than I ought to be, and try to catch them how I want to catch them instead of what's probably a more productive way to go. But that's how I'm choosing to go about it on this day. So I worked my way along that northern bank, and I'm getting to the northeast corner. That's where I'm expecting to find active fish, if there are any. And yeah, I just loaded up into one. That's about a 2-pound bass. And he's gone. Quick release. Alright, I worked my way around with the chatterbait for a while. I even tried a swim bait. I tried a a rattle trap. I tried a bunch of different stuff, and I just could not get the fish to go. And so what I've done is completely changed gears. I've gone to the other side of the pond where it's fairly calm, and I'm going to see if I can get them on a fluke-style bait. And this is a new bait for me. It's called a Whiplash Shad by X-Zone. That's the perch color. I'm just lining it up, and like any other fluke-style bait, you want to rig it up perfectly straight. I have a 5/0 grip pin hook. That's a mustad hook, and it holds the plastic up on the bend of the hook pretty well. This is a soft kind of plastic, a plastisol bait, and so eventually it will tear up, but I'm going to hopefully catch a few fish before that happens. One of the things that I like about spring is it gives me a chance to fish some new gear. That's a 610 medium heavy Zodius rod that I picked up this winter, and a 100 size Daiwa Tatula reel. I've got 30-pound X9 braid on there to a 12-pound Yozuri hybrid leader, and then I showed you the Whiplash Shad. And it doesn't take too long until I got a fish. Now that's not what I'm after. Those are micro pickerel, maybe not micro, rat pickerel, and they will do a job on the poor Whiplash Shad and your line and pretty much everything else. But that also kind of gives me a clue that it's just a little bit early for the bass to be as active as the pickerel. So what happens a lot of times, at least in my area, New England, after ice out, is the pickerel get more active first. They like the colder water, and it can be hard to fish through them to get to the bass. But it just tells me I'm probably a little early. There's another one on the Whiplash Shad. It's that Whiplash Shad is, I think the guys at Tactical Bassin had it right. I think they called it kind of a snaky action. It doesn't look as much like a bait fish as it does something slithering subsurface. And it has a nice shimmy on the fall. And so I'm hitting it fairly softly until I feel a fish pick it up. And I was getting hits on almost every cast until that happened. That was a pickerel that cut me off. I let him have it just a second too long. But I also missed a bass. I could see him in the water. It didn't turn out on video, but I was a little hesitant to swing on a pickerel again. And I thought I had another pickerel, and I got a look at the fish that had my bait, and it was a bass. I went to swing on him. He spit the hook. So I was so close to doing a little bit better with the bass, but it just was not my day. So I had to come up with a different plan because I don't like being cut off by pickerel. And I could throw some other different baits that maybe the pickerel wouldn't eat, but they seem to really like just about everything. They especially like little micro crankbaits too, so that was off the table. Anyway, I dug around in my crate there, and I found some 16-pound test fluoro. And I was thinking, you know what, that might be enough to keep the pickerel from cutting through, because these aren't really giant pickerel. They're kind of smallish pickerel. Maybe 16-pound fluoro's enough to keep them from cutting through that leader material. And I'll give that a shot. But what happened was the heavier leader material didn't seem to give the Whiplash Shad as much action, and I was getting bit. I mean, almost every cast, every other cast, as soon as I put that bait on. And as soon as I went to the heavier line, it was a noticeable change. I mean, the fish went from eating that Whiplash Shad almost every cast or every other cast to I was struggling to get a bite. Now, if I'd known that before I went and tied this leader on, maybe I would have done something else. But I was kind of surprised at how much of a difference going from, 12-pound Yo-Zuri hybrid to, I think this was 16-pound Sunline leader material, FC leader. It's not a huge jump in diameter, but the Whiplash Shad just didn't have as much action, and it seemed to make a big difference to the fish. Either that or they could see the leader, even though it's fluorocarbon. But I was getting much, much, much less bites. What I'm doing here is tying on an Albright. It's just a connection knot between the braided main line and the leader material. And it's a modified Albright that I tie. I usually do 12 wraps and then 2 wraps on the exit loop. So it's improved Albright. You can look that up. There's a bunch of tutorials on YouTube or anywhere else. Just look up improved Albright, and you can modify it however you want. I've seen some knot videos where they do 6 loops on the exit loop, or 6 turns on the exit loop. Seems a little excessive to me, but you can play around with it and see what you like. Here I'm going to tie a double line clinch. Did pretty well in my knot tests, and it's a knot that I used a lot last year. It's 5 turns up. It's just like tying a simple clinch knot, except you double the line first and you end up with 3 tags. I've seen it called the shark knot. What else? Double shindo knot, the 3 tag knot, but it's all the same knot. It's just a doubled up clinch knot, and it's been around forever. And it's a pretty good knot once you double it. If you double it first, it's a good knot. If you just have the single strand going through a single simple clinch knot, that's a pretty terrible knot. And I only use that for things that are very heavy in diameter, like 80-pound fluoro. 80-pound fluoro, you can't really tie a lot of other knots with it. And I use that for fishing for bluefish or pike sometimes. And you can, there's a limited number of knots you can tie with 80-pound fluoro or 100-pound mono, stuff like that. So simple is better for the really thick stuff. But for bass fishing, I mean, almost every time I'm going to double that line up if I'm going to tie a clinch knot. So this is a few casts later, actually many, many casts later. And they were going from hitting it just about every other time to I was really struggling. And it's the same bait, same hook. The only difference is 16-pound fluoro leader instead of 12-pound Yo-Zuri hybrid. And it's the wrong kind again. I got another rat pickerel. Oh, these things just won't leave me alone in early spring. But another few weeks, we need some warm temperatures, and I'll be on to the bass. Alright, so I had a fun afternoon on the water, but I wasn't really catching the quality of fish I was after. So I've got a few choices to make. I could go south where the water's warmer. I mean, at least 5 to 10 degrees warmer than the water I'm fishing. I could change techniques and fish blade baits and jerk baits. I really don't want to do that. I could switch species and go after more panfish or trout. Or I could just wait a week and a half until we get the next warm front coming through and, kind of go through the same routine. So I've got some decisions to make before the next video. I might just end up trying one more time at a similar lake, and then I'll know for sure what I have to do, or what my options are anyway, because I can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll list everything in the video description, just like all my other videos. And I'll catch you on the next one. See ya!